all right, everyone, you can hear people on the left say, oh, it's an attack on the freedom of the press. It's an attack upon slander, really. But Trump has suggested, in the wake of some weird shit being posted online, with regards to Brennan, I think it was, and a fake Trump quote, and then Brennan was like, oh, well, it sounded plausible. Yeah, I got snookered, basically. He suggested that the legacy media should also be subject to an expansion of libel laws. That is, when you post something as an authoritative journalistic source, so-called, above board with press credentials and shit like that, when you've got the press credentials to obtain classified info, potentially, look at confidential shit, you should be held to a higher standard of truth because people are counting on you at large for the news, for analysis, and for the truth. Now, of course, what's actually happened is that we have a bunch of yellow journalistic tabloids in this country, corporates, groups owned by multinationals that experience absolutely nothing in the way of a requirement of being ethical at all. They repeatedly lie about people, slander others, and drag people through the mud, and they face no repercussions because they hide behind the fake idea of the freedom of the press, which really means what the First Amendment refers to with the press is the activities of the printing press itself. It is the mechanical or otherwise non-interpersonal distribution of information. That's the press. Under the auspices of the parlance used in the 1700s, the press simply means the printing press. Therefore, I have the right to the freedom of the press as well. If I'm printing a book, a billet, if I'm putting material online, I'm not talking to you in person. I'm not right next to any person that's watching this video on any platform. In some cases, it's literally you're watching me in another country. It's an activity of the press. It has nothing to do with speech. It's nothing interpersonal. I'm not on a stump in front of you rambling about snake oil or something like that, which is also protected, generally speaking. Medical malpractice and fraud, of course, applying in that scenario. But the idea that a corporation, a for-profit entity, should be able to say demonstrably false things or present as true things that it should have known were false, even if not malevolent, yes, it should absolutely be something that can be prosecuted. Now, should there be discretion involved? Yeah, after a fashion. It's like one of the big problems. Like, let's say you're slandered online. Like, I've been slandered by BuzzFeed, but I can't sue BuzzFeed because I couldn't go before a judge and say, well, I can demonstrate here that it reduced my income. It damaged my brand irreparably or something. In fact, the opposite happens sometimes. If you're slandered but ineffectively, then you just get more attention, and then your rebuttal actually is more potent than the slander itself, and you actually ironically benefit by being lied about in some cases. But that's definitely a thing that happens. Independent content creators are regularly slandered by the legacy media. They say also, like you look at the Data Society report. The Data Society report's basic premise is false. It's objectively, demonstrably false. The idea that there's some sort of collusion between people who breach every possible political spectrum from a dozen different countries have gotten together as some nexus of evil Nazi cultists is absolutely wrong. That's basically what it suggests. It's suggesting that the fact that people have conversations promulgates hate on the internet. There's absolutely no actual research to support that concept. The opposite, indeed, is what I conjecture is true. But why should Trump not be protected from being slandered? Now, of course, there's a difference. Public figures are less protected. Like even if you're well-known online, a judge could say, well, you're a public figure, and so if someone's released information about you, it doesn't qualify, even the concept of doxing or something in maybe a non-malevolent fashion wouldn't necessarily be a crime, even if you've attempted to keep that material confidential. It's not necessarily a crime. There's a certain, it's just like when if you follow around some random person with a camera and start taking pictures of them, and they say stop it and walk off and you keep going, you're stalking them, you're harassing them, might be going to jail or getting litigated against. What about if you do it to Charlie Sheen? There's a different threshold involved there. The paparazzi can mob him on his way to his limo, and it basically falls on Charlie Sheen with his tiger blood to get into his limo quickly and just not talk to them and not give him as many pictures. It's more difficult. Now, of course, you can still end up harassing a celebrity or someone well-known, but it's a little bit different. The same is kind of true online. Like, if you say weird shit about Trump, you're not going to get sued by the President of the United States. It's not going to happen. But what if a journalist uses a fake quote in a news article? Should that be considered something that should be prosecuted? Maybe. Maybe we need a reform of laws to cover that sort of thing, but it shouldn't just cover public officials. In fact, it should cover them arguably less. Satire still applies as well. It should cover regular, average Joe individuals more. or average Jane individuals. I know I don't want to offend any third wavers out there. That's basically the lay of it. I would say with regards to libel and slander, we've seen an awful lot of it lately. Like, PewDiePie makes Nazis, YouTube causes extremism, stupid shit like that any person that's actually in the know knows isn't real. But it's taken as true, it's taken as for granted that it's correct by Soccer Mom America. And it's become a big, big problem. And this sort of ties into Trump releasing that tool to report like political bias in bans online and stuff like that. It looks like he's gearing up to fight on behalf of the First Amendment, which I think would be a wonderful idea. Yeah, it'd be nice to see a president who understands the concept that people should say what they want and fundamentally be left alone, and that the internet's not problematic, wasn't problematic, isn't problematic, probably will only become problematic if we tamper with it too much. That's basically what I think. That's about all. Peace out.